Just a decade ago, all the best offensive players in the NFC West were running backs. Frank Gore, Marshawn Lynch, Steven Jackson. It was very much an old school, run it up the middle type of division. Now, there's still run first teams in the NFC West, but the best running back is a former undrafted free agent named Raheem Mostert, who doesn't make much money. All the highest paid, best skill position players in the NFC West now are wide receivers, which shows you how much the league has evolved in just a decade. I think players have figured out which position to play to get money. So with that in mind, let's rank the teams in the NFC West based on their wide receiver groups, starting with the team with the worst wide receivers, ending with the team with the best. And keep in mind, this division is loaded at wide receiver. If Emmanuel Sanders still were on the 49ers, I'd rank them much higher, maybe 2, but he's not on the team. I think a lot of Deebo Samuel. He had a terrific rookie season, and I think he's going to take a big step forward in 2020. But he's pretty much all they have right now that's established. And his best season last year was he had 802 yards and 9 drops. Excellent player. Does a lot as a running back as well, and I think he's going to be probably a Pro Bowler in 2020, and I'm ranking him as such. But after him, the number 2 receiver on the team is Kendrick Bourne, who's never had 500 yards in a season. And then after that, it's a bunch of guys who either missed the season last year, Jalen Hurd, Trent Taylor, or just no-showed the season in Dante Pettis. And then you got Brandon Ayuk, the rookie, who really could be an excellent receiver down the line. It's probably going to be tough for him to hit the ground running, considering no OTAs, no minicamp, and he didn't play in the SEC. He played in the Pac-12. It's like AA compared to the NFL. So by the end of the season, by December and maybe the playoffs, the Niners wide receiver group may be as good as any wide receiver group in this division. But right now, it's a young Deebo Samuel and everyone else. The Niners have one good established wide receiver, and that ranks them last in the NFC West at this moment. Rams used to be number 1 on this list. They used to be number 1 on a lot of lists. They used to have 3 excellent wide receivers back when they had Sammy Watkins, Cooper Kupp, and Robert Woods, and they replaced Sammy Watkins with Brandon Cooks, who was also a weapon. Now they got rid of Brandon Cooks, and they just have Kupp and Woods, they're good. They both broke 1,000 yards receiving last year. Kupp had 10 touchdowns. They're both good. It just seems to me they're probably not as dangerous as they were 2 years ago. Kupp has a surgically repaired ACL, not quite as dangerous as he was before that injury. And Woods is a good, solid receiver. It seems like the Rams are transitioning away from a 3 wide receiver offense and want to lean on their tight ends a little bit more in the passing game. So the wide receivers are taking a step back. Not as good of a group as it was a year or 2 ago. The Seahawks are similar to the Rams, and they have 2 good receivers. The Rams have Kupp and Woods. The Seahawks have DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. And you see, I'm putting these teams ahead of the Niners because right now the Niners have 1 good established receiver, and that could change in a few months. But with the Seahawks, they have DK Metcalf, who was a rookie last year, like Deebo Samuel, and basically played as well as Deebo did. They both showed well. But he's the number 2 receiver on Seattle. The number 1 receiver is Tyler Lockett, who has been extremely consistent for them the last 2 seasons. He's a big play threat. He's also a guy who moves the chains on 3rd down. He's a fantastic wide receiver and really could be putting up bigger numbers than he does if he were on a team that passes more. Still, last season he had 1,000 yards, and the year before that he had 900. He's a premium wide receiver. That being said, coming back to the 49ers, by November, December, if Brandon Ayuk memorizes the terminology and gets his feet underneath him and starts playing as well as Emmanuel Sanders played for the 49ers last year, the Niners could be right there with the Seahawks, if not past them. It seems like for the past decade, the Cardinals have always had the best wide receivers, no matter who they've had. They really value the position. They've always had Larry Fitzgerald. It seemed like 10 years ago it was Fitzgerald, Michael Crabtree, and everyone else. Well, they still have Fitzgerald. Crabtree's retired. He was never on the Cardinals, he was on the Niners. But they got Fitzgerald. They also have a young guy named Christian Kirk. These were their number 1 and number 2 receivers last year. Neither one cracked 1,000 yards. If those are your top 2 guys, you don't have good wide receivers. But they traded for DeAndre Hopkins, who is arguably the best wide receiver in the league, if not number 2 or number 3. Really tough to cover. even if you have good coverage on him, he makes the catch anyway. He's great. He's had five 1,000-yard seasons, and he's still young, not 30 yet. So you put him as the number one receiver on the team. Now Larry Fitzgerald number 2, and Christian Kirk, who I would consider like a young Tyler Lockett, is number 3. That's not only the best wide receiver group in the division, that's the best wide receiver group in the entire league. Now, again, let me come back to the 49ers because you guys are probably 49er fans. Fitzgerald's 37 years old, so this elite trio may not last that long. It might be a one-year thing. And who even really knows what Larry Fitzgerald will look like in December, although he's been so consistent his entire career. It's possible by the end of the season or by the beginning of 2021, the 49ers will have the number 1 wide receiver group in this division. But right now, they're mostly potential. They have a lot to prove, and the Cardinals are the gold standard.